Well, I have a couple more minutes than Gina, so if somebody would give me a signal in about 5 minutes, so that then I get 2 more minutes. So.
So she gets a 5-minute warning to 2-minute warning.
But it doesn't start till Gina's done.
Okay,
Okay. You know, first I'd like to thank a lot of people. David Sorey and Don Johnson are good friends of ours from Denver. They paid for our airfare and our room charges in Acapulco. I'd like to thank the woman in Omaha who had registrations for the lowest possible cost. And you, my friends, and the board of directors. I'd like to thank you for your donations and your trust to give us the remainder of the funds, so we will never forget your kindness. My trip to General Conference in Acapulco was a trip of a lifetime. Gina may not want to go back to Mexico, and perhaps I don't either, but it's something I'll never have repeated. There were many wonderful things that I learned and experienced at General Conference. The highlights for me were small church changes by the elders, a major structure change that happened, and Reverend Elder Ken Martin's sermon. But I have a couple side stories, and those are what I hope don't run me over my minutes. First, before I get to those 3 points, I was sitting outside of, I better watch my notes, of one of the workshops that Gina was attending, and Reverend Elder Dr. Charlie Earhart, that some of you might know, stopped and greeted me. And Pastor Gina and I have known Charlie since Darrell died at our house many years ago. And so I was surprised when he said, completely unsolicited by me or anybody else, said that there were only 2 pastors in the fellowship who were not replaceable. One was our own Pastor Gina, and the other is a pastor in Louisville, Kentucky. I protested to him that everyone was unique, and he said, well, of course they're unique. But he said, frankly, we can all be replaced like computer chips, except these 2 people. Wow, what a statement. I can only imagine. The second side story involves our own Reverend Elder Frida Smith, who was so impressed when she was here for her visit just before conference. She spoke on behalf of Pastor Gina and our own church and our desire to reach out to our brothers and sisters throughout Montana and the limitations we've had because of some of the structure within the fellowship. She spoke directly to the moderator, Reverend Elder Nancy Wilson. She said she spent 30 to 45 minutes talking with Nancy on her behalf. Reverend Elder Ken Martin, Reverend Elder Don Eastman, and anyone else that would listen. That we in Montana needed a different way to reach out, and we were given permission to reach out any way that would work. What a blessing. Oh, God. So many people know Pastor Gina, and thus they know our church and our desire to reach out. I can only imagine. So, imagine, this is one of my points. I'm already there. I hope I'm doing good. So imagine my surprise when Pastor Gina and I attended a workshop given by 2 of the elders on small churches. Over the last 6 years, there has been a dramatic change in how small churches are viewed by MCC headquarters. At one point in our fellowship, it was thought that churches with 50 and under members should either be subsidiaries of a large church or should simply be disbanded because they didn't have a lot of value. And we were one of those churches. So today, small churches are defined as less than 75 in worship because they knew that everybody was fudging the membership numbers.
She said till it came to tithes and
Yeah.
pension, then it dropped.
Yeah, then they could, then the numbers got changed again. Our leaders have figured out that 75% of MCC churches are small churches. Only 25% are the large churches. So this is amazing. I knew this, and Gina knew this, and many others. But somehow over the last 6 years, they decided that there was this extreme financial and spiritual wealth in these small churches. And Pastor Gina and I will share more about the small church workshop that we went to in the future. And there's a book that we need to get. Imagine the other major thing that I was a part of, and Pastor and I were able to vote yes at the meeting there, at the business meeting, on a structure change for the fellowship. We've only had really 3 structures in this fellowship. One was Reverend Troy Perry for probably 31, 32 years as the moderator. One has been the Board of Elders for the last 6 years, and then this change. And we are only about 41 years old. This amazing change will not just be the Board of Elders who has to do everything in the fellowship, financial. They have to go to churches that are having problems. They have to do all the evangelism in the world that's going on, and all the legal issues that come up. And there's 8 of them. They're spread too thin. So over the last couple years, there's been a major study, and now the elders are going to pastor the pastors. So we hope how well that will work. But they need that. And then, of course, they will still continue to do some outreach. But Reverend Ken Martin told me his travels will decrease about 50 to 60%, which is a real blessing to him in his long-term relationship. And we now have what's called a governing board made up of elected 4 clergy and 4 lay people that are elected at the business meeting at General Conference every 3 years, 3 to 6 years, it depends. They're staggering those positions. And imagine what a major change. I do have a copy that I'll put out in the front that has the proposed structure, which is what was adopted by about probably 95% of the people voted yes on this. So that you can look at some of what the differences will be. But it's a wonderful change because it opens the elders to do pastoring and to not have to deal with all the legal and financial issues. The third thing that touched my heart at General Conference was at the Reverend Ken Martin's sermon. And I want to share with you some of Elder Ken Martin's sermon that was presented. Reverend Ken was with us here in Great Falls at the church a couple years ago. And in closing at his sermon, he shared with us a deep concern he has. He said, somewhere in Great Falls tonight, someone is crying themselves to sleep. And somewhere tonight, someone is contemplating suicide.